Mike Tyson is remembered as one of the most fearsome athletes in boxing history. A young man who could knock out opponents with terrifying speed and power, he became the youngest heavyweight champion ever, a living phenomenon, and a symbol of invincibility in the sport. Yet Tyson's story extends far beyond the glitz, glory, and knockout headlines. His career and public persona were shaped by a childhood marked by fear, neglect, and trauma, a foundation few could see. Every victory in the ring, every championship was built on unhealed wounds and survival instincts. This is not just the story of a boxer, it is the story of a boy forced to grow up too fast, a man shaped by forces he could not control, and the ongoing struggle of a survivor trying to reconcile fame, loss, and his own humanity. A broken boy in Brownsville, Tyson's story begins in Brownsville, New York, a neighborhood rife with poverty and danger. As a young boy, he experienced hunger, neglect, and constant threats from the streets around him. Abandoned emotionally, he quickly learned that he could trust no one. Tyson was beaten, bullied, and robbed, often questioning the meaning of family and safety. Violence became not only a tool, but a language of survival. What the public saw as natural talent was really a product of fear, a boy learning to defend himself by any means necessary. Boxing wasn't a dream, it was a lifeline. This environment, harsh and unrelenting, forged both the fighter and the pain he carried into adulthood. Every punch he threw in the ring echoed the desperate instincts developed as a child, turning fear into force and teaching him early that power was the only protection he could rely on. The mentor who believed in him, Cus D'Amato, Tyson's trainer and father figure, transformed the trajectory of his life. Cus didn't just teach Tyson how to box, he taught him to believe in himself. For the first time, Tyson had a figure who saw potential rather than trouble, a steady presence that replaced the chaos of his early years. Under Cus's guidance, the frightened boy began to develop discipline, confidence, and a sense of belonging. The outcast became a prodigy, and the boy who had known only fear learned he could channel it into greatness. Yet, this sanctuary was fragile. When Cus died, Tyson lost not only a mentor but the anchor of his life. The death marked the end of the stability he had clung to, leaving him to navigate fame, fortune, and personal demons on his own. It was a loss that would echo through his career and personal life, shaping both his triumphs and tragedies. Young champion, unprepared for life. At just 20 years old, Tyson defeated Trevor Berbick to become the youngest heavyweight champion in history. The world saw a flawless, unstoppable champion, but underneath the surface was a young man still grieving and unprepared. Without Cus, Tyson was suddenly thrust into fame and fortune without guidance, surrounded by advisors and promoters more interested in profit than his well-being. His financial decisions, personal life, and even career trajectory were influenced by people who sought to exploit him. He didn't immediately recognize the manipulation, as flattery and attention masked the reality. Behind the spectacle of championship fights and global recognition was a boy still desperate for stability, struggling to understand the complexities of trust and loyalty. Fame had arrived too soon, and the pressure of adoration only intensified the void left by Cus's death. Marriage and public humiliation. In 1988, Tyson married actress Robin Givens, a union celebrated by the public as a fairy tale for the troubled champion. But the reality was far from idyllic. The marriage quickly became fraught with distrust, emotional turbulence, and constant pressure. Tyson struggled to manage fame, childhood trauma, and an inherited rage he had never truly understood. Givens felt trapped, the marriage becoming a publicized storm of tension. Their highly publicized interview with Barbara Walters brought private pain into the global spotlight, depicting a marriage described by Givens as emotionally torturous. For the first time, the world saw Tyson as powerless, embarrassed, and vulnerable. Sympathy and fascination gave way to suspicion and criticism, compounding the pressure on a man already grappling with unresolved childhood trauma and a lack of guidance. public humiliation marked a turning point in his personal unraveling. Conviction and incarceration. Tyson's downward spiral continued when he was convicted of rape in 1992 and sentenced to 6 years in prison. The announcement shocked the world. The invincible champion had fallen into the harshest reality imaginable. For Tyson, the conviction was almost inevitable. Years of chaotic decisions, poor influences, and unresolved trauma culminated in this crisis. Prison stripped him of status, wealth, and freedom, leaving him alone with the ghosts of his past. Sponsors abandoned him, and fans criticized, and the media mercilessly condemned him. Yet incarceration also provided an opportunity for reflection. Separated from the trappings of fame, Tyson was forced to confront the unresolved pain and patterns that had shaped his life. Though society saw disgrace, prison became a crucible for a man forced to reckon with both personal accountability and the scars that had driven him into self-destructive behavior. The return and the bite. After his release in 1995, Tyson returned to the ring seeking redemption. Yet, the man who emerged was angrier, more volatile, and still haunted by unresolved trauma. In 1997, during his rematch with Evander Holyfield, his rage reached a catastrophic peak. Humiliated and frustrated in the ring, Tyson bit Holyfield's ear, not once but twice, shocking the world and his fans. The act became the defining moment of public outrage, costing him millions and permanently tarnishing his reputation. Yet beneath the scandal was a deeper truth. Tyson's violence was a reaction to pain, grief, and psychological wounds left unhealed. The incident revealed the man behind the myth, a man struggling to navigate fame, loss, and the lingering effects of childhood trauma. The bite was more than an act of aggression. It was an expression of inner chaos that fame and fortune could never fix. Financial and personal collapse. Tyson's life after the Holyfield incident spiraled further into chaos. Once a billionaire, he became financially destitute, losing wealth through reckless spending, poor advisors, and legal battles. Luxuries like mansions, cars, and extravagant parties became symbols of excess he could not sustain. Beyond money, his life was a storm of substance abuse, toxic relationships, and emotional instability. Drugs and alcohol provided temporary escape, but worsened the emptiness inside. Tyson described feeling spiritually bankrupt, trapped in cycles of guilt and despair. Friends came and went. Fortunes disappeared, and the boy from Brownsville remained at the mercy of forces far beyond his control. Even as the public focused on his sensational career and scandals, the real tragedy was internal. A man isolated from his own sense of self, struggling to reconcile childhood wounds with adult responsibility. A tragedy that sparked transformation. In 2009, Tyson faced unimaginable grief when his 4-year-old daughter, Exodus, died in a home accident. The loss devastated him in a way nothing else had. It forced him to confront the entirety of his unresolved trauma. Poverty, abuse, fame, incarceration, and public disgrace had scarred him. But losing his child brought the depth of emotional pain into sharp focus. For days he was unable to speak. For weeks he barely moved. Yet in this tragedy emerged a turning point. Tyson realized that survival was no longer enough. He had to actively confront and process the trauma that had haunted him since childhood. Exodus's death forced introspection and catalyzed a commitment to personal healing, marking the beginning of a deliberate transformation from brokenness toward understanding and redemption. Rebuilding and redemption. In the years following his daughter's death, Tyson began the slow process of rebuilding. Therapy, recovery, and removing toxic influences became central to his life. He began speaking publicly about the abuse, neglect, and fear that had shaped him, reclaiming his narrative from tabloids and sensational headlines. Through storytelling, comedy, and self-reflection, Tyson revealed the man behind the myth, flawed, wounded, humorous, and human. His one-man show, Undisputed Truth, allowed him to present his life honestly, turning public curiosity into empathy and understanding. No longer defined by his actions in the ring, he embraced the reality of being a survivor, a man who had endured extreme trauma yet chose to confront it. Redemption for Tyson was not about restoring glory, but about acknowledging pain, taking responsibility, and finding peace beyond the public eye. The fight for humanity. Mike Tyson's life demonstrates the extremes of human experience, extraordinary triumphs and devastating failures. Built by fear, trained in power, and broken by trauma, he faced battles far beyond the boxing ring. Yet, his later years reveal a rare resilience, a willingness to speak truth, confront past demons, and redefine himself outside the lens of fame. Aging does not erase the desire to be seen, respected, and understood, and Tyson continues to navigate the complexities of a life once dominated by violence, chaos, and survival. His greatest fight is no longer measured in rounds or knockouts, but in the daily struggle to exist fully as a human being, acknowledging flaws while striving for connection, redemption, and personal peace. Tyson's story ultimately transcends sports. It is a profound meditation on resilience, suffering, and the capacity for healing. Conclusion: The Survivor. Mike Tyson's journey is one of extraordinary highs and devastating lows. From the streets of Brownsville to global superstardom, from humiliation to incarceration, from grief to redemption, he embodies both the vulnerability and resilience of the human spirit. The story of Iron Mike is not simply about boxing, it is about survival, trauma, and the ongoing effort to reclaim a life fractured by pain. Tyson teaches that victory is not only in titles or public acclaim, but in confronting one's past, embracing truth, and choosing to rebuild. Today, he stands not as a perfect hero, but as a survivor who continues to fight the most important match of all, the fight to be fully human, flawed, and yet worthy of love, forgiveness, and redemption.